Musical on the beat.
Welcome back to episode 22 of the Zoo House Sports Fantasy Football Zoo podcast. I hope you all managed to do well in your first 2020 fantasy week. Is this your first time tuning in? My name is Matt, aka Zoo House Separate, and I'm joined once again by my co-hosts
Tom, aka Zoo House Goat. I'm still in shock because I didn't do very well in week one.
Rich, aka Zoo House Bear, a fantasy football karma benefactor.
And Chief, aka Zoo House Moose.
We hope you had a great week one, but in case you didn't, this week we're back with some more surefire bets to take home that win in week 2.
But before we get onto that, let's take a look at the news from around the league this week.
What happened there, boys?
What happened? What happened to normal football? Since when was Washington good?
Yeah, it was absolutely bizarre. We've just we've gone like, let's write a news section on the episode sheet this week. Okay, we'll write down Jaguars and Washington because they're both the worst teams on earth.
And congratulations to them. You know, it's fantastic that they're able to be the dark horse and actually win a game. Their first game coming back on. It's great.
I loved it. I loved starting the Colts D. Everyone said start the Colts D. They're going to Jacksonville. They're just tanking. They've got rid of all the best players. Philip Rivers is in great shape. You know, they've got all these talent. They've got Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor, and it all worked out really well for me, didn't it?
Right, so to put some context behind this, I feel like we should just do a very quick sum up about how we did in our home league this week. Bear, why don't you start?
I won because I am fantastic at fantasy football despite losing Kenny Golladay and Cortland Sutton on the Thursday.
How stretch? How far did you win by?
Oh, it was huge margin.
Of 0.45. But anyway,
Yeah,
a win's a win.
Look, a win's a win,
Matt.
right? I lost my 2 starting wide receivers and still pulled out a win, so come at me.
Very true. Very true. Chief, how did you do?
I'm going to say I was let down. I dared to take 49ers D in the 11th or 12th round, and I was thinking, yeah, you know, first week, Arizona, can't be that bad. But they didn't do great. And I was up against Zeke, Hopkins, Mostert. It was just a bloodbath. But I'm ready to, you know, pay attention to this show, get some great waiver wire pickups, and come back for week 2.
Well, you're listening to the right place. I myself won as well.
Oh, congratulations!
And I
Well done.
also got the highest points in our league. But I also apparently was the most overachieving out of everyone in our league. So I'm a bit worried that it's not going to
No, that just
consistently
means that you
happen
knew
week on
stuff
week.
that the people behind the sleeper app
I
didn't.
knew. See, I listened to the show. We got the points.
We give you
Tom,
that differential.
Tom, how did you do this week?
Sorry, I'm losing connection. Can't hear you. Can't hear you guys.
Come on, big
Sorry.
man. Tell us how you did. Come on.
I did the lowest scoring of our league. Just to put this into context, Miles Sanders let me down. Mike Evans pulled a hammy, was going against Lattimore. And to top it all off, I had Blake Jarwin tear his ACL and pretty much his second ever catch and run. It was a non-contact injury, and my tight end scored 2.2 points. I also started the Colts D.
Let's just say it wasn't your week, but moving on to part of your misery. So this episode, what we're going to do, we're going to break down sort of, as the Bears said, some more opportunities for you to take off those waiver wires who we think are having breakouts and who are now injured, who can take opportunities from that, and essentially who should be busted and you should sit for the remainder of the season. And there are many. Are over this random weekend. I feel like it was just exciting to be back in the game. Did you guys sit and watch all the games? How many did you go?
I stayed up late for the Thursday night game. That made Friday very difficult. I had like 2 hours sleep. And then I watched all games apart from the late game on Sunday. And I didn't catch any of the games last night because after Thursday night and Sunday night, I was pretty spent.
I love having additional windows up in front of me when I'm watching on a Sunday night. I really enjoy watching like 4 at once, and it can get real confusing with all different sounds and stuff, but there's so many commercials and stuff. It's relatively easy. I'm not a big Red Zone fan. I like being in control. Don't know what it is.
Red Zone was great this week actually on the late games because you had 3 late games, which basically meant you were watching all the action. You should say there's so many adverts that there was basically 2 games an advert and 1 game live at all times. It was great.
See, this is interesting because I didn't manage to see any of the games during the evenings, but I was able to wake up early enough to watch the games and catch the end of the Titans Broncos, which was brilliant, fantastic. And I'd just like to say that if anybody's watching from our podcast off, where we joined in collaboration with a few of the podcasts and put in predictions for this week's game, I think it was 6 altogether, wasn't it? 6 games we had to predict, and we've actually got all of ours right, bar one, which I think is San Francisco, which one predicted. No one predicted that one. I think that's a fair shout. But anyway, right, on to the main
I'd just
content.
like to say the Great British Pod Off is being run by Outside the Huddle, and it's also being taken part in by 5 Yard Rush, 5 Yard College, Shant Club NFL, and Dynasty Island. And as you said, if any of them are listening, suck it, bitches.
But look them up. I'm sure they got great content out there.
Nah, suck it, bitches. We're better.
Right, injuries. Tom, you started it off. Let's talk Miles Sanders. How gutting is that? Hamstring, week 1, missed the game.
He can go fuck himself. I'm really trying hard not to waver him. Really trying hard. He let me down week 1. And the scary thing is, Boston Scott picked up the handcuff. Thought, you know what? Maybe he can do something. No, Carson Wentz. Forget the O-line. Forget the Washington D rush. Carson Wentz just was like a rabbit in headlights at points on Sunday. And I'm worried. I think the Philadelphia Eagles losing those O-line is a bigger blow than we thought. If Miles Sanders, I'd rather not rush him back for week 2. Keep him week 3, week 4, week 5. Just get him back fit and put him in the wide receivers core and just get Wentz to throw checkdowns all day.
What was your alternative option when you were drafting Miles Sanders?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, that's right. He didn't do much this week.
No, he didn't. No.
Can you believe though? Sorry, just talking about DeAndre Hopkins. Can you believe that he's gone from Texas and now he's in Arizona and he's getting more of a target share than he did in Texas? Like, that is just insane. It's gone up to like 44% or something nuts.
They're an air raid offense though. They're going to pass loads, so it's only ever going to help him.
But you would think that they would spread out more rather than they just focused him all day long.
But he's so good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So good. He had a career high 14 receptions, and you just saw from Christian Kirk's performance and output from the game, pretty much that's it. They don't care.
Yeah. Oh, look, we have the best wide out in the league. Better keep throwing him the ball.
Going back to injuries, I think.
Yes.
Unfortunately, our home leaguer who took Le'Veon Bell isn't here. But even with Adam Gase, Le'Veon Bell, I think, scored a mighty 6.6 points, was it?
Yeah, I can't remember how early he
PPR.
came out the game because, as I've said many times, it was the New York Jets, so I don't care.
No, he came out and then he got put back in.
Right.
Yeah.
And Adam Gase even admitted after the game, he was like, "Yeah, shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have done that, but I'm a stooge, so who knows what I'm going to do next."
That guy with all the guaranteed money. Hey, we want him out for a few weeks.
Yeah, Jesus, that was bad. But I mean, I feel like we did tell people don't draft Le'Veon Bell many times on this podcast. So if you didn't listen to us, hopefully you're slowly learning your lesson.
And usually when a big RB goes down like that, you want to look to the backup. Whereas in this case, no.
It's no T.Y. Montgomery.
Is that who their backup
Josh
is
Adams.
now?
It's
Frank
Josh
Gore.
Adams and Frank Gore.
Frank
yeah.
Gore,
But Frank is kind of being used at the moment, whereas Josh Adams is kind of the guy who would step into that number 2 role.
So so you're saying that is Adams over Gore if you wanted to get a handcuff for this running back?
I would say neither. Just leave him to die.
Still, the commentary is avoid New York Jets.
Apart from Jamison
work.
Crowder.
Jamison
he did
Crowder.
well.
Yeah, he popped
did well.
off. In fairness, he popped
Even
off.
with Sam Darnold, coming off afterwards in the post interview saying like, yeah, it was me, just threw too many crap throws essentially, and yet Jamison Crowder is still able to get a very decent score. So just shows the quality there. Michael Thomas, now it says it's a high ankle sprain, could be good for week 2, could be, might not. Are they going to risk it? Does this mean that there's another opportunity for someone else there?
No, a high ankle sprain is usually anything from 2 to 6 weeks.
You got to take your time on it. Look at Barkley last year.
Yeah.
Look at Kamara last year. They were shadows of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a great week this week. Regardless, we could have easily taken him out of this injuries bit and put him down in our busted players section that's coming later on for the guys who just busted this week. But I mean, the Bucks defense is great. So
Yeah.
bad.
They held Kamara, I think, to 16 yards.
yeah.
Rushing,
There was
which
a
is
lot of running
incredible.
backs held to very, very few yards this week, though. It's
Yeah.
been a weird week of the NFL. Like Saquon got
Unless-
like 6 rushing yards or something in total.
Unless you're Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yes.
And Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. But I mean, how are you ever going to stop the Chiefs? Like, it doesn't ignore the Chiefs are going to be impervious to anything this year. If you've got Chiefs players, keep playing them. They're going to be great. Like, but everyone else seemed to have a real roller coaster of a week and poor. It was such a nothing thing as well, wasn't it? His injury. It was like the second to last play of the game or something, and like an O lineman just rolled over onto him, and that was it.
I'm
Really?
hoping.
Is that all that happened?
Yeah.
I've got him. He was my first pick in another league. I'm hoping he's going to be all right. But one
So
player
we-
that's not going to be all right, though,
Yeah.
Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
Yes, Marlon Mack
sad.
got confirmed after the game, didn't it? From his MRI, he did have a torn Achilles. He is done for the season.
Do you know what pisses me off most about this?
I picked him. That's right.
I
Rich.
don't
That is
care about
painful.
that. That was your fault. We told people not to pick Marlon Mack, right? I mean, not that we knew he was going to get a torn Achilles, but still, for the last 2 years since Naheem Hines comes out of college, I've had him as my last pick in every draft because I could see that he had the ability to be a good player. He looked like Alvin Kamara coming out of college. I was like, Marlon Mack doesn't matter. Naheem Hines is your dynamic every down back. He can do it all. This year, I was like, right, I've had him for 2 years. He's done literally naffle, not going to bother. And then week 1, who's one of the biggest breakouts?
I genuinely thought of you as soon as this happened. I was like, Bez is going to be fuming.
Such a
after
prick.
Philip
Such a
Rivers
prick.
loves that check down back, doesn't he? You know, he abused Eckler at LA Chargers, and everyone's thinking Jonathan Taylor truthers are now coming out, so now he's going to get a huge share.
He
I
will.
don't
He'll
know
get
how
a lot
he's-
of the actual rushing work, but Naheem Hines will end up like 2018 Austin Eckler.
PPR.
He'll be like a top 24-ish running back in PPR.
I think it's interesting as well that Hines was being used before Mac went down. Like, it wasn't just Mac went down and then they brought out Hines. He was already being used in a really positive way before this happened. And now he's going to have even more opportunity to... Because they're not going to give everything to Jonathan Taylor. So we'll see how that goes.
Between Game Pass not working at 6 p.m. and I wanted to start Red Zone and Naheem Hines getting like the first 5 running back targets, I was absolutely fuming by 7 p.m. on Sunday.
So look, I think we've already seen on the waiver wires. He is probably the top choice of the waiver wires going into this week. So
pains me to
definitely
say
a
it,
big pickup. But yeah, definitely. Right, who's next?
Duke
I think
Johnson.
it's Duke Johnson is worth a mention. Tom, I know you're a big fan of David Johnson, so I don't know
D.
if you want
Johnson.
I took him in every single league. I tried to, except this home league. Someone just
Can you
pinched
imagine
me
if
to
you
him.
stuck to your other drafts in your home league? You'd be doing great right now.
Allegedly.
Right, so he is reaching for week 2. I don't think he'll be there again. He came out with 1.4 points. I mean, does this mean David Johnson even more value?
Oh, yeah. He'll be the third down backs.
Yeah.
He'll just catch even more. If I was you, I'd try and buy David Johnson low now. If he's at all going low or anyone wants to trade Miles Sanders for David Johnson, Chief. That's what I'd do.
I will be the first to admit that it's only week 1 and there's a lot of football left to go yet this year, but I might have been slightly wrong on how vocally against David Johnson I was going into the
What?
season. As far as I could see, he'd had one good year and that was it, and he'd kind of had middling years since. But for the first time in many, many years, he was actually looking good. He was making jump cuts left, right, and centre. He was breaking tackles. He was finding space. He had good vision. His hands still looked safe. It was... Yeah, sorry, DJ. I'll take one
Sorry,
on that.
Rich, I'm just calling an ambulance because you just admitted you were wrong.
Hey, no. I'm never wrong. I was just misunderstood.
Right then, we got a lot of players to get through, so keep
chop
this
it, chop.
rolling. I mean, James Conner, ankle sprain, could be out for a few weeks. Pittsburgh, anyone
I
really?
think he might lose his job, in all fairness. I
Benny
think
Snell
Benny
stepped
Snell
up.
is
Who's
a
sorry?
good player. Benny Snell, he's a good player. A lot of training camp talk saying that he was playing better than Connor already. And they, teams often like to go with a hot hand on these kind of things. If Benny Snell starts playing great, then they're not going to put Connor back in, especially after he's coming off injury. I think Benny Snell's another
I
great
watched some of
waiver
that
wire pickup.
game, and James Conner, He was kind of walking away from the snap at points, trying to catch like a ball from Ben. He just seemed lethargic even before the injury. Now maybe something was up for him. Everyone thinks he's going to be 2018 James Conner.
Yeah.
I can't see it.
We said this again in the off-season. None of us were targeting him because, A, the Steelers themselves said that he wasn't good enough last year and they were actively exploring other opportunities at running back. And B, we know that he's an injury risk. And boom, there's the other running backs looking just as good as he is, well, just as not good as he is. And he's got injured the first week. Like, we saw this coming. But quickly on that game, I watched it this morning. Is it just me? I know Juju profited, but did Big Ben look real slow on his feet?
Oh, yeah.
His drop looked slow. He looked a little bit slow on his vision. I mean, a slightly more proficient defense.
Is this just you haven't seen him for a year? I mean, is he always that slow? I mean, he's got a lot of weight to move around.
He's a
fat shaming Big Ben.
£350.
You're fat. I'm sorry,
I can't
Ben.
believe you'd say that. Ben, we're so sorry. If you ever want to come on the show and have it off with Matt Lowson, then get in touch, fantasyfootballzoo@zoohousesports.com, and we'll organise that. You can tell him that you're a svelte 490 pounds, Ben.
Aerodynamic. Nimble.
Aerodynamic!
Well, he is behind the O-lineman. But he actually got more rushing yards than Barkley. So
Yes,
three more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nine rushing yards for him, which was a funny stat to read this week.
He looked slow. I wouldn't keep hoping too much on that offense if I was playing fantasy, because a slightly more proficient defense, and I think he was going to have a far worse day than he had.
I think this is another opportunity where you are able to capitalise off, Juju having a good week, and suddenly you got, people like David Johnson who's actually going to give you value, and Juju who I think had a good game but isn't going to continue that value. This is where you got to trade high, get low, trade high.
Overreaction week 1. Juju, top 10 wide receiver. Top 10 wide receiver. Overreaction week 1. That's what you got to do.
He's high, ship him off now. Yeah. Ship him off, see what you can get.
Great. Right, moving on. Henry Ruggs. I feel a bit sorry for Henry Ruggs.
He had a great game.
Yeah, he did. He had a great game, and he looked like he returned. You know what? I think he just took was it a helmet or shoulder pad to the knee or something? It just.
I don't know.
bruised.
I didn't see this game.
For me, on the Raiders offense, they got so many options. I saw Aguilar actually catch a ball, which was worrying in itself. Yeah, I know. He actually scored him for a touchdown. They got Hunter Renfro stepped up. They got Brian Edwards, who was hoping to do something who didn't. They've got this running back that apparently can just be a god in between the tackles. They've got Walrus. They've got so many options at wide receiver. All right, Ruggs is out, but I still think there'll be a top offense this year.
Yeah. They've just got
hopefully
that's
back
the
to.
nice thing. When you've got so many options who can actually all do something, then it just splits the defense, doesn't it? Corners, safeties, linebackers, none of them know where to go. So
the defense is hot trash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is good,
so they're going to have to be playing.
Throw the ball more.
Yeah,
moving on to the next guy again. We do have a lot of players to get through. It seems like there's a lot of first couple round picks being injured here. So the next one is George Kittle, who sprained left knee, so he could be out for week 2.
That was a painful hit by Buda Baker on it. In fairness, it was a
legal hit. He did return
hit.
to the game.
Yeah, but he was limping, wasn't he? I think
it was a bit. He did come back for a few snaps, which is good because it means it wasn't bad enough for them to like knee jerk reaction. Let's get him out of there.
He has been marked as questionable now, but he's a pretty tough guy, so we might see him play again.
Might see reduced snap count or something like that. Or
if they just bring him on for red zone targets, that's where his value lies anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. And another big name, Devontae Parker. He pulled his hamstring.
Who?
Is it a big name?
I'd say so. He certainly made his name last season. Maybe not after the show against the Patriots. But yeah, if you're looking for a target, wide receiver, you're at the back of the end of the waiver wire, you're not really sure who to get for, you can go for Preston Williams. He is going to see a big uptick of targets if Devontae Parker is out.
Do you still trust Fitz and the sort of battle between Tua and Fitz going on? Do you still believe that that's a viable pick as a Miami as a whole?
I think that there's a timer on that But for the next few weeks, I still think we're going to be okay. I don't think Tua is going to be ready to take over. I mean, we've seen a lot of rookie quarterbacks coming in, and they aren't having a huge impact on how things go. I mean, it's the Pats D. I don't think we can really lose all of our trust in Fitz, especially with how well he played in the back end of last season. Probably maybe just week one jitters against a great defense.
He didn't play terrible. It was just the Pats D smothered the Dolphins, and it wasn't a great game, to be honest.
No, it was very
slow.
It felt like we were watching football from like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a dynamic pass-heavy game that you're seeing a lot these days. It was very much, each of them was just trying to wear each other down. But the thing about Fitz, you never know what you're going to get. One week he's going to be your, like, 10-point leader in terms of best quarterback of the week. Another week he's going to score you 12 points. Like, you just don't know.
Philip Lindsay, turf toe.
Is this a real thing? Because I lost Devontae Adams, to turf toe for many, many games last year, and I'm still convinced it's just a made-up name for when someone stuck their toe.
It's where little bits of grass grow out from your toe. It can be quite painful, apparently.
I genuinely thought you were serious then.
You have to get a little lawnmower
inside his toe.
You have to get a little lawnmower and just trim your toe.
You have to soak your toe in weed killer for 3 hours a day.
It's a sprain of your big toe, which comes from either landing on it or like jamming it somewhere or it bending in a funny angle. And the trouble is, a lot of the time, the athletes think that they're okay and they play on it again and then they land on it funny again and they have to go off again and they just can't play at 100%. So we might see Philip Lindsay out. We might see him back in it again. He's another guy who loves playing through injuries. But we probably won't see him as good as he normally would be because of this lingering injury.
I don't think it matters too much, though. I mean, Melvin Gordon looked good enough to be holding on to a firm grip of a lead back job. So I don't think anyone was really chasing after Philip Lindsay in leagues anyway. But
I think if anything, this just puts up stock in Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, for sure. Tom, did you add this last one? Who added this last one?
Yeah, I think it was Tom, because I was trying to read it. I don't know who.
Me.
Oh, was it Chief?
It's the right guard, Lane Taylor, for the Packers. He's sadly had a season-ending injury, which basically means that we're going to see probably more high volatility games from the Packers because he's a great player.
He blocked really well. The Viking pass rush was halted by the Great Wall of Lane Taylor, but unfortunately...
is this going to hurt?
Aaron,
I was going to say, is it going to hurt Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
He's an inside rusher, isn't he?
Yeah. I think it'll hurt a bit of Aaron Jones, but also maybe some of the slot receivers. I don't know, because they won't have the time to move about, and then maybe just slinging it out wide. I think that's more going to happen. So your MVS is your Alan Lazards and your Devontae Adams will probably profit from this.
You did a great
Funny
job
that
there.
you
Run with it.
good transition. I'm loving it. So now what we're going to do, we're going to talk about breakout players, which are GOAT so conveniently assisted me on there. So what our aim of the breakout players are not to sort of give you Josh Jacobs, hey, he did a really great game, great, he's going to have 100% pick already ownership, so no point talking about him. We're talking about people who are probably on the waiver wire in your league that you can snap up and make good value out of. So Tom, start us off with MVS.
So MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, as he's known to his fans of the fantasy football. MVS to me, being one of his boys. I wouldn't get carried away. I personally would only target him as a wide receiver 3-4 in deeper leagues. Like, he only had 4 receptions, and one of those is a bit of a long one that adds onto the yards and the touchdown. If I was going to look at anyone in that backfield, it would be Alan Lazard, personally. Out of all he was targeted more. He's a more consistent player. He was billed out of camp as a wide receiver 2, and he showed it against the Vikings. But again, just temper this, an overreaction week 1, which I love. It was a very, very weak Vikings secondary. Very weak. Yeah, a lot of rookie cornerbacks and a rookie safety in there. They just got abused.
The thing we've got to look at as well with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, it was 4 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. Like, he's not going to average 25 yards per reception this season. He's just not. Never in a million years. And I don't remember the target share, but I think Alan Lazard saw at least a handful more targets, like 3-4 more targets on the game. So, yeah, He's great. You missed out on him late in the draft, didn't you, Matty?
I did. I still am calling Rob out for paying a league to guide him on that, because there's just no way. There is no way that this guy knew to pick Alan Lazard, and it's that pick coming back around the snake.
I don't know.
Just about to pick him.
He did pick AJ Green and Evan Ingram. So I think karma balances out there that draft kit
Yes,
you paid $29 for online.
But it's
came
fine
into some
though,
good
because AJ Green will only play 4 games.
Yes.
and one of them's already used up.
Exactly.
So either way, considering that Devontae Adams had a brilliant game as well, and both of these two were still able to make good quality value, there is plenty of receptions to go around here and target. So I agree with the GOAT here. Alan Lazard would be the player that I would target if he was still available, or if even on trades, I would look to pick him up. I think he's going to be a good flex pick there. So moving, go on, Bear.
No, I was just going to move us on because I was going to moan about this next one anyway.
Yeah, I like it. James Robinson.
Right. How many points did James Robinson score this week?
10 points.
Are we calling 10 points a breakout performance now?
It's not a breakout performance, it's the opportunity from this game.
He's not DJ Shark, and he's not Gardner Minshew, or the other wide receiver who I can't actually pronounce the name of. Yeah, Lariska
I'm trying to see.
Chenault.
LaVisca Chenault Jr. Yeah.
That guy that I just murdered his name. Sorry. It was Matt Lawson who told me to tell it that way.
I would say that this target is more for people who maybe went zero RB strategy. Looking at James Robinson's ownership, he's only 42% owned in a lot of leagues, and he's probably going to see a lot of carries. Gardner Minshew is literally playing for his job. If he can win games, it means that the Jags drop in terms of who they can get, in terms of their rookie quarterback. If he can win games, he shows that he can actually do it. If he loses, then they're going to pick up a franchise quarterback in the first round of the draft next year. So, yeah, we might see more positive great game scripts in the future for him. But
look, all I'm saying is that personally, for me being waiver 10, because I got the most points this week.
Did you? You haven't mentioned it yet.
I didn't mention it. I think this is a risk willing to take, especially because I've got Marlon Mack. I need to get him out. I need someone in. Why not risk it on someone like James Robinson, who potentially could have a good season and get him while his value is low? Anyway, I accept your points there, though. Right, here's one that I'm deeply disturbed by, but also it's such a good opportunity. I have picked Zach Ertz every season for the last 3 years. This one I didn't get him, and am I so happy. Dallas Goddard. God, I swear I had these names. Goddard. 8 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown for 24 points. Fantastic.
Maybe someone knocked the ability to catch a ball into him during the off-season.
Well, no, let's
their
not be
fist
harsh on him, right? Because
in
he
the bar.
was producing last year. He had standalone tight end value even whilst Zach Ertz was healthy last year.
True.
And there is a league somewhere, I'm just trying to find it now, where I took him with my last pick because I think I've got Travis Kelce, and then I've got Dallas Goddard, my last pick in the draft. Because if Zach Ertz goes out or something like this happens, you have great trade capital. Literally, as soon as that game finished, I put him straight on the trading block. I was like, right, come on, let's see what I can sell him for now. I've got Travis Kelce as my tight end one. Let's see what I can get.
Any offers have you had?
No, because people are all stupid. But I think it's only because not many people look at trading blocks today, so I might have to start actually actively shopping him.
I think week 1 is also a hard time to trade people, because people look at really good games as a fluke and bad games as also a fluke. So they want to just stick the course with their players instead of trading away for something which is more,
Well, I think actually over the off-season I was looking and people were saying on dynasty leagues as well, especially to pick up Dallas Goddard because they weren't sure about Zach Ertz's sort of future at the Eagles. So anyway, moving on once again, Noah Fant.
Love it.
He had a great game.
6 targets, 5 receptions. But here's the interesting thing. 16.2 yards per catch. That's not just
huge.
Slants. That's huge. Drew Lock likes him a lot. Okay, yes, temper it. Cortland Sutton was out. Some more receptions went out. More targets went out. Jerry Jeudy, he dropped 2 easy ones and still had lots of targets. Denver slung it, but I think Noah Fant is there to stay. You could see at the end of last season when Drew Lock came in, he started to get targeted. If he's available in your leagues, he could easily finish, I think, within the top 12 tight ends this year. If he's in any of your waiver wires, he should probably be your waiver wire number 1 if you're in need of a tight end. If not, then obviously Naeem Hines and others. But Noah Fant for me is better than got better potential because he doesn't have to compete with Zachary.
Yeah,
all right. I'll kind of give it that one.
shout.
He has kind of come a little bit out of nowhere, but
I know, he's come from Denver.
16.2 yards per catch is not sustainable for a tight end. I'd argue it's probably about 5 yards.
He did it 5 times in
In
game
one
against
game.
the Titans D. Good D. That's a big D.
A big deal.
say it often.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't.
I don't know. I think he'll do fine, but I think at the end of the year you'll be seeing him closer to 12 yards per reception.
Still, that I'd take that if he's getting 5
Still-
yards, 12.
Yeah, you would.
Solid Titan numbers.
Right, so moving on to another tight end that I know Chief was particularly happy
Whoa,
with, even though...
hold on. No, all of you behave. I'm going to talk to you all for a minute now about a man called Russell Gage. Those of you who are readers over on ZooHouseSports.com will remember I published a piece about vacated targets this offseason and who stood to profit most. And my favourite name that came out of that, Blake Jarwin. My second favourite name that came out of that, Russell Gage. And he did not let me down this week. 12 targets, 9 receptions, 114 yards. Didn't even need a touchdown to get himself 20 points. I'm just telling you, I am a fantastic analyst and don't sleep on him anymore. He'll still
That
be
was
there on
garbage
waivers right
time.
now.
When did he get most of his targets? In which quarter?
He didn't get 12 targets in garbage time, Tom. He
When-
was getting
when-
targets throughout the whole game.
Yeah. Okay.
It's insane that the Atlanta Falcons have managed to have 3 wide receivers in the top 11. Because
They're the most passing team in football. It's not that strange.
That's just insane though. Like Matt Ryan supporting 3 top 11 wide receivers: Russell Gage at 11, Julio Jones at 8, and Calvin Ridley at number 2 on the week.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if Calvin Ridley's numbers will stay up there, but Russell Gage will stay up there. I'm not telling you he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver, right? I'm not being that silly, but
So we're saying
I'm
flex
fully
pick.
confident he will finish low end wide receiver 2, definitely very high end flex on the year. And he was someone
right,
who
that's a good
was
shout.
free, and he's still on waivers, and you can pick him up now if you've been hit by one of the many injuries that we just talked about.
So now let's move on to our next tight end that Chief is really happy about, TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, so I picked up TJ Hawkinson last year and was extremely disappointed. Rookie tight end, it doesn't normally end that well for them. But now we're going into a time where it's going to be the breakout. It's his sophomore year. He's a really big guy. Yeah, I know Golladay was out for this game. He got 5 for 5 targets and for 56 yards and a touchdown. He played great, but Stafford kind of was a bit disappointing. He was supposed to be gunslinging, but it didn't all go his way this time. So I think there's still a lot of big potential to be found with TJ Hawkinson, especially when Golladay comes back. He's going to draw coverage, leaving Hawkinson free for those shotgun passes that Stafford loves so well.
So you think that TJ Hawkinson didn't just see the uptick thanks to Golladay being out?
No, I think that the person that saw the most uptick was that guy with the crazy name. Hold on, I'm just going to
Melvin
look it
Jones
up.
Jr. or the other one?
Quintez Cephas.
Oh,
Who?
yeah.
He got 10 targets. In all fairness, he only caught 3 of them, which is why he didn't get many points. He only got 7.3 points. So 10, he caught 3 for 43 yards. But he seemed to be Golladay's successor. I don't recommend picking him up because, like I said, he only had a 30% catch rate. But hopefully TJ Hawkinson is sustainable.
My favourite part of NFL Sunday this week, Chief, was when you dropped TJ Hawkinson and then picked him back up all within the space of an hour. Just toying with him, bringing in some motivation to bring in those points for you this week.
I'm so glad I did because Eric Ebron had a stinker.
Right, Tom, who's the next player?
In a tangent from the Eric Ebron game, I actually really like Darius Slayton. You see there's 6 receptions for 102 yards. What you don't see is the amount of targets because I forgot to write it down. But he also had 2 touchdowns, and Daniel Jones loves him. He's the clear number 1 receiver in that New York Giants. Sterling
9
Shepard
targets, by the
is the slot target. 9 targets, I'll take that. And Daniel Jones, the connected well in camp, and Danny Dimes is going to have to throw it because teams are going to stack the box against Saquon like the Steelers showed that it works, and they're going to have to sling it. And if Darius Slayton's on your waiver wire, I'd actually look maybe to him to be a waiver wire 1 pickup up there with Naeem Hines. It was very close in the vote. I think a wide receiver 1 in a team's quite a premium
It's a fair
thing to
point,
have.
actually, because if you take away one of his 2 TDs on the week, he still would have finished with like 20 points.
So it's not really a touchdown. He's getting the yardage.
Yeah,
And
100 yards, that's 10 points straight away, 16. Yeah, he's killing it.
One of the things that's also noteworthy is that Golden Tate was out for that game. So, and he's, a good. So I love Darius Slayton. When Golden Tate comes back, I think maybe he is going to see a slight drop in targets, but mostly I think Sterling Shepard is probably going to fade into the background.
I don't know. Golden Tate's the wide and deep, isn't he? He's not really the slot. Sterling Shepard's the slot.
I think they swap around a lot.
Yeah.
Because Golden Tate does sit in the slot sometimes.
Darius Slayton's a different receiver. He's 6'1", clocking in just under 200 pounds. Golden Tate is not that.
I think Shepard's going to drop out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, I think Evan Ingram won't even see targets in that. If you picked him up or drafted him, I think you're really regretting life. Rob.
And then
I love this next one.
Yeah, go on then, but you take it out.
Adrian.
Oh, but I added it.
Go on, you do it. You do it. Fine,
want him.
whatever.
No, I want
Take away
him.
like all of my fun. Go on, you say some words.
Adrian Peterson had a hell of a game. And the reason I want to bring up Adrian Peterson is to also kind of bring up a busted player, at least my opinion of a busted player, and that's DeAndre Swift, who had an absolute terrible game. I'm going to tell you why Adrian Peterson had a great game. He had 14 carries for 93 yards. He had 3 targets for 21 yards. No, he didn't score any touchdowns, but he looked amazing. He really worked well.
He only finished with 14 points.
Only 14 points, yes, but we came into the game with a crowded backfield of Kerryon Johnson, who did really bad, and DeAndre Swift. We're looking at a rookie here. In comparison, DeAndre Swift had 3 rushing attempts for 8 yards, 3 receptions on 5 targets for 15, and he stole a touchdown from Adrian Peterson. If Adrian Peterson had got that touchdown, we would have been talking a lot more points. DeAndre Swift dropped the game-winning touchdown.
I wanted to say
outrageous.
that. I was like, what a
heartbreaking.
mug. There's a great GIF
it
somewhere
didn't
of
look
Big
difficult.
Cat off of Barstool Sports, who's a Chicago fan, sitting there with his head in his hands, being like, oh no. But then everyone in the background's like, he dropped it. And he's like, no way.
Like, oh my word! So I think they're going to lose. They're going to lose the confidence in him and just go for the veteran that they know can make the plays.
Great, and then I think it was Tom called this preseason, so I'll let him speak it out. He was a bit too low scoring for the breakouts, but we'll see.
I think we talked Josh Kelly. I really was a fan of him, but my favourite is Scotty Miller. Coming out of Tampa, wide receiver, connected well with Brady and Camp. But I take this with a huge pinch of salt. They're playing New Orleans, and Lattimore was all over Evans. Evans wasn't feeling good. And what we've got to do is just consider that Lattimore has stopped Evans' performance for the last few years. Wasn't right. Brady's still in the offense, but Scotty Miller is going to be his Edelman version. I think Edelman light in Tampa. Let's just sit out. Maybe wouldn't waiver him now, but star him, mark him. And if you have got the depth, add him. Because I think he could explode.
Yeah, he did actually. I was watching the game and I was like, nice work, Tom. That's actually a really good call because he did look great. And as you said, he definitely has some form of link there, like Edelman used to have with Brady, where when times got a little bit tight, it was like, quick, let's look down. Where is he? Especially if Gronk was just horrible this week. But the other one, Matt, that I think you were alluding to was Joshua Kelly, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, Joshua Kelly, I mean, he got 12 points this week, 12 carries, 60 yards and 1 touchdown. But I think he looked really good. I think he looked, someone that you could definitely pick up on and I love saying slot him into the flex pick, but it's just because I'm happy with my wide receiver and running back 1 and 2s. But always good to build up your bench.
And
Joshua
again,
Kelly,
we did
out
call
there.
it. We looked at the level of carries that Melvin Gordon was vacating, didn't we? And we said there's definitely room for a second running back to be supported. And you know what? If they can get some slightly more positive game scripts, either by dropping Tyrod or breaking his legs or kneecapping him on the way into practice or something like that, then he's just going to do even better, I think.
He just can't pass the ball.
We said this all
he's
off
just
season.
terrible.
He has no business being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I watched Hard Knocks and I actually was like, you know what? I think I'm starting to come around at him. He looks like he's trying really hard. He's won the locker room, but he's garbage. He is just garbage.
He could be a great locker room presence. Keep him in there.
Yeah. Hire him as your
Right.
morale coach.
Anyway, guys, talking about garbage, let's talk about players that really busted it this week.
I love that segue.
Honestly,
That is a good.
there were some fantastic people who we had high hopes for, but I'm saying I called this from day one Baker Mayfield. Not good, no talent there. And he did rubbish, although the Ravens defense was
No
all
talent
over
there.
it.
Ooh, Matt, you are
So
laying
I've said
out
it.
some.
I've said it.
You're laying
I've said
out
it.
some OBJs tonight on people.
I've,
This is
honestly,
horrible.
I've said it since the preseason that Baker Mayfield is not a good QB and you shouldn't put faith in him. That's why I avoided, all of. I had an opportunity to pick OBJ up actually, and I avoided him because of Baker Mayfield.
But you don't want OBJ on your hands, do you? That's not nice. No one needs. I mean, you get it occasionally with your baby,
When
with your
that
son.
OBJ
but I mean,
hits the fan.
yeah, you don't. I mean, that's what happened.
I mean, do you think that this is unfair? Then, do you think you disagree, or do you think he was just having an off week because of the good defense?
It's not a nice team to play against, is it, the Ravens?
Nah, and
You
their
can
D.
buy him some there. I don't think any of us are now going to be standing here saying he's going to be a top 8 quarterback this year, because I don't think he is going to be.
No, but it was bad in the first drive. I think I texted you, Bear, while you're waiting for your red zone to get working. So I was watching the only game that worked on the Game Pass for a little while was Browns Ravens. I was watching it on the first drive. Baker got it through an interception. I was just like, oh,
It wasn't an auspicious start for him, bless him.
yeah. I feel sorry for people like Chubb. I mean, Chubb fumbled, but when you're getting Baker Mayfield throwing away picks and setting the game script against you, and the whole plan is built around a strong run game with Hunt and Chubb. I mean, OBJ was still targeted quite a lot of times in that by Baker. It's just the accuracy. If you look at the accuracy percentage, I think it was
Something like
negative.
3 catches for 22 yards did OBJ. It really wasn't a great week for him.
No, but they had the targets. The accuracy wasn't there. It wasn't catchable balls.
But the interesting backstory to this is their backup quarterback is Case Keenum. And Case Keenum does have a bit of history as coming in partway through a season as a backup and actually turning a team around. So I'm a little bit interested to see if by, say, week 5, if Baker plays like that every week, there's every chance that they drop him.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think they're busted on him. I think he believes his own hype. He's got proper attitude on his shoulders. And if you look at who else they could have got in that draft, Josh Adams. All right, Sam Darnold, but yeah, Baker Mayfield, I don't see it at all. You'd have been better off buying someone in the off-season.
Yeah. Well, they could have had Tom Brady.
They could have
Much
had
use
Cam
this week.
Newton.
Cam Newton. Oh, God,
Cam Newton,
would be
exactly.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been good there. Right then, moving on to our next busted player. Who wants to take this one?
Oh, go on, Tommy.
Go on then.
Take one for
Take it away.
So, Cam Akers. Okay, so I watched this game, the Dallas Cowboys, LA Rams. Honestly, he was taking the first and second snaps, and the Dallas defense had a big blow in the linebacker, can't remember his name, breaking his collarbone, going down. And also, the Rams O-line, I know, got worse, but he only had 14 carries for 2.8 yards per carry, and only 1 target for 4 yards reception. Now, Malcolm Brown, on the other hand, I know Malcolm Brown went off week 1 last year. I know they were sharing snaps and Cam Akers was only on for 24 of the 73. He didn't get any red zone looks at all. Which, we just talked about Joshua Kelly, he did get red zone looks. He punched it in for a touchdown. And Josh Kelly had 12 carries for 60 yards, 5 yards per carry. Okay, and that was a tough situation when they know Tyrod can't pass. And they've got, so they're having to run it. Well, you've got Woods, you've got Kupp, you've got Higbee, you've got people who can stretch the D. Okay, so you can't stack the box. I think Cam Akers, I can't see him breaking in. If you drafted him, maybe keep him on your bench and hope something happens. But I think, to be honest, it's going to be a running back by committee. And if anyone's going to be taken out there, it's Malcolm Brown. And to be honest, it's between him, Naeem Hines, and maybe maybe slating for a waiver wire 1 pickup.
They did have a lot of faith in Malcolm Brown. I'm just looking back at
Yeah.
the stats now because I watched the
He
game.
played
this morning,
well
I haven't
in the
looked at
game.
stats. He had 18 rushing attempts for 79 yards and 2 rushing
Good
touchdowns,
stats.
so he was getting the red zone trust. He
And
also
then he got
saw 4
receiving.
targets
Yeah.
for 3 receptions and 30 yards.
Yeah, no, he was really good at he was able to cut well. He had a really good game. Usually Malcolm Brown was only there to punch it in.
Yeah.
He's a bit more of a veteran. But actually, he was looking really good in space. He did some good blocking as well, protected Goff. The running back coach came in and said, actually, if you look at the passes that Goff was able to do to Woods, who was the back blocking? It wasn't Cam Akers.
No.
That's what you want from a coach, isn't it? As Bruce Arians always said, you got to block.
Right then, let's move on to our next busted player. A bit of an odd one for us to mention, really. I think we know our views on kickers in our home league.
Yeah, they're pointless.
Not particularly a fan of them, but Gostkowski, very close to losing the Titans the game there, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly close.
3
And,
missed field goals.
I think it also changed the script of the game as well. I think if he'd have put more points on the board, it would have changed the aspect of the game to more of a mad points fest where both quarterbacks are trying to make it level, but instead it turned into a very slow-paced slog
grind,
of
yeah.
It wasn't really that enjoyable to watch.
No.
So are we saying that he's past his time to move on, get a different kicker, although that's not really what we want, or is it just a bad game? This is the issue, as we said before, it's week 1. Do you hold your faith or do you cut loose whilst it's early?
I
He'll
think
be
it's
fine. It's just one of those kicker things. Like, he's not a new kicker. He will have had bad games in the past. He'll know how to get his mental right. He'll know how to come back next week, and he'll be absolutely fine. But it is always fun to just poke a bit of fun at a kicker.
Absolutely.
It's a shame because being a Patriots fan, he was a legend there. Gostkowski. He was, he'd drill key clutch field goals when the pressure's on. In this game, he missed 10 points worth for his Titans team. And the reason I put Gostkowski in, it's actually sad to see him bust because I was actually hoping to succeed. And this is going to be a guy who will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He's being clutch. And it's just, the only reason I also put him is if he keeps missing, say he misses a few in the next game, that changes the game script for the Titans. And then do they actually do they just use Derrick Henry more and try and ground it out, use the clock up? Which what they did last night is a very boring game.
I don't think you're going to see exciting games out of the Titans.
So, okay, let's move on to our next one, who I think is a bit more of an interesting one that I did not expect for the Ravens. So Mark Ingram, only 10 carries for 29 yards. And we were saying that Cam Akers, a rookie, only did 2.8 yards per carry. Mark Ingram, I expected better than that.
Yeah, he also looked slower than he did last season. He was just disappointing, really. And I think now it's time to worry about J.K. Dobbins coming in and cutting into his load. Yeah. During the off-season, they said, J.K. Dobbins, he's going to come in and, it's going to be a timeshare. But if it keeps going how it's going, then we need to worry that J.K. Dobbins is going to take over, basically, and Mark Ingram's going to be a relic.
And I don't think, I don't think the ownership of J.K. Dobbins is exactly low, is it? I think he was quite a rookie that people had a lot of faith in that could take some of the targets from Mark Ingram.
I am quite happy with this because I have J.K. Dobbins on my bench. So I'm hoping that over the next few weeks we keep seeing that shift more and more and more and more and more into J.K. Dobbins' favour. And then I've got another solid flex player that I can slot in for when 2 of my wide receivers inevitably drop out an hour before a game.
Right, this one is one that I'm particularly interested in. Not that it affects me that much. I just love DeAndre Hopkins. So Christian Kirk is our other busted player here who got 1 reception for 5 targets. That is just dreadful. Dreadful. He could have had such great potential, but we had said earlier in the podcast that he was one to watch out for because Hopkins is going to come in and take all the targets. That's actually come true. Do you think it's consistently going to happen? Or is it going to drop off back to more normal levels?
Here's my thing. Sorry, go on, Chiefy.
I was just going to say that this is something that's worrying me a lot because I have a lot of shares in Christian Kirk. I thought this could be his breakout time. He could be a solid wide receiver too, with Larry Fitzgerald kind of falling off. But if it's going to keep going like this, then I think it might be time to drop him. I'm going to hold on for one more week, I think, and see.
Well, I think that's sensible as well, because if you saw this game, wouldn't you just start doubling DeAndre Hopkins, and then suddenly does that mean that the opportunities for Christian Kirk are there, and he's got the space to get those targets? But sensible to keep him one more week, but I wouldn't hold my breath much longer than that.
The problem with trying to unstack your box against the Cardinals is not only do you have pardon me, sorry. Not only do you have Kenyon Drake, but you've got Kyler Murray who's going to take off running. And that's how he got me so many points this week, because he'll just absolutely take off running. So it's very easy to say, just drop one linebacker into deeper coverage to cover Christian Kirk, or to allow two corners or a corner and a safety to go cover D-Hop. But it's just not going to pan out, because then they'll just punish you through the ground. Yeah. Exactly, their entire offense is built on read options. So they either try and stop Drake and Kyler, and then D-Hop gets the target because he's just got such safe hands, or they double team D-Hop, and chances are either Kyler or Kenyon are going to just run it down their throat.
Right then, so this next one is genuinely could have been the Cinderella story of rookies for week one. Welcome to the NFL, catch the game-winning pass
for your second touchdown on the night.
And he drops it. DeAndre Swift.
Heartbreaking.
I can't believe it.
No, it's not.
Last 4 seconds.
Heartbreaking for the Lions.
Literally lost me a game because I had Matt Stafford as my QB, and that would have been the winning
points. That is,
and it didn't look a difficult catch to make. Obviously, what can I say?
I think you'd be amazed at the speed at which that ball arrives at you from a professional quarterback.
You are throwing out serious shade tonight, man.
Who else are you fighting now?
He's got DeAndre Swift
and Big Ben.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's get them all on the show.
Let's have a tag team wrestling match with him.
And Baker Mayfield. You want a piece of Baker?
Yeah. Someone's been having their Weetabix this morning. Right
then, Tom, finish us off.
Evan Engram. I just want to say, suck it, Rob. You're in a home league. You drafted him in the 6th round. I took Rojo in the 6th round, which people looked at, but even I looked at this one. He's not going to do anything all year. I'm surprised he didn't get injured in this game. Don't touch him. He's burst all over.
I've got a quick question for you guys. Week 1, standard PPR scoring. Who scored more points, Evan Engram or Rob Gronkowski?
I have Gronk in a league, and Gronk scored me like 3.2 points, so I'd imagine it's Evan Engram.
It's Rob Gronkowski.
Is it? Let's go, Gronk.
Evan Engram put up 2.9 points.
Oh my days.
He was going off the board in the 6th round. Some people took him early, late 5th. So yeah, I think might be the bust of the.
That is pretty rough.
I'm intrigued to see if that carries on. But conscious of time today, we are moving on to rapid fire predictions. So, who has the stats here? Is it you, Tom? Who's got the stats of how did we do against last week? I want to keep it going.
So,
who got the most predictions right?
League, the most predictions right was the Zebra with 10.
Oh, you know what? Smarmy little bastard this week, aren't you?
He is honestly, he's coming across. He's got that full cocky week 1. And you know, I hope you keep winning, Matt, because
so do I. I need to.
Fuck off. And then
who's second?
The Moose and the Bear are second with 8 and 8.
Woo! Let's go, big man.
And then 50%. I am in last with 7.
Oh no, that is rough. You have been dominated.
I'm just 3 point league.
Yeah, I've just been dominated by Matt and the Zebra. Really, he's just squatting over me, and I'm laying there asking him to take a big
laying back and thinking of OBJ.
Do you know what though? I feel like that was a not a stab in the dark completely, but more of a stab in the dark. No one had seen the players play yet on the new game scripts or the way that the teams react to empty stadiums. But now we have a better understanding. A couple of dark horses have come out, and do we think they're going to repeat it? I'm going to pick Bear to do the lead on week 2, and we're going to do the green. So somebody take notes.
Somebody take notes, or we'll all just fill out the pick 'em again this week. So we have game number 1, Jaguars at Titans. Look, Minshew Mania took over. The Jags seem to be having a pretty good time, but I think the Titans are just gonna smother them on this one. So I'm taking Titans.
Titans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
No
Panthers
worries there.
Buccaneers. Now, I love the Buccaneers, and the Panthers looked absolute hot trash this week. So I'm going to stick with Buccaneers. I'm going to believe in us. Come on, Tom Brady, you're going to be better this week.
Vegas actually has this as a high point total of 49 points, and they have the Bucks winning by 9. So implied point totals of 29 for the Bucks and 20 for the Panthers.
All I would
pretty
say
harsh.
is we held Alvin Kamara to little to no points this week, well, yardage wise. So I don't see why we can't do.
The
Alvin
rushing
Kamara,
yards. You held him for rushing
Yeah,
yards,
fine.
not
That's
receiving.
what I mean. Fine, but we stopped his rushing game, and we stopped a big part of the rushing game. So I don't see why that'll stop for Christian McCaffrey. He had terrible games against the Bucks last year as well.
Yeah, but Brady's going to throw picks.
No, he's fine.
can't-
Look, he was just getting used
Belichick's
to it.
not
He was
there.
just getting his eye in. He's going to be absolutely great this week. He's going to be back to his Hall of Fame self. Right, so we all agree Buccaneers, yeah?
Yep.
Oh, I haven't actually
Yep.
said yes. Game number 3, the other early games. We have Broncos at Steelers. I'm probably going to say Steelers just because their defense is good enough to keep them in the game, and they've
Yeah.
got Big Ben back.
Steelers for me.
I really want to mix this up, and I'm going to go Broncos.
So you are mixing up and looking at the NFL pick'em. 6% of people have chosen Denver.
Oh shit!
If that's changed your mind,
No, I'm staying true.
He's staying true. I like it.
Go, you.
no, it's 94% of people go Pittsburgh.
I'm not
going
asking
to be
what-
one of those.
You're
I'm going to be one of those
94.
94%.
Good.
Right.
Rams at Eagles. Oh, whew. That's a good question.
Would you like any Ask a Friend help?
If you ask Vegas, they say Rams by a single point.
Yeah, I think it's
46
going to
points
just
by total.
about be Rams, depending on how fit Miles Sanders is.
I'm going to go Rams.
Rams. Even
Do you
if
know what,
Miles Sanders
I was
comes back.
disappointed with the Eagles, so I think Rams as well.
They lost to Washington, name TBD.
Yeah.
Oh, boys, this is going to be the easiest question of the night. San Francisco's 49ers at New York's Jets.
Surely this is 50-50 on the app.
Oh, it's got to be close.
Do you want to know the scores on the app?
Anyone who has eyes has clicked the correct button in terms of 49ers.
It is 97% San Francisco 49ers.
There's 3% of people saying, nah, the Jets will do it.
Well,
Well,
it's
there's
not
3 going to be
3%
wrong.
of the NFL are Jets fans, then, is what we're learning.
Yes.
Right. Bills at Dolphins. Bills. Josh Allen looked great, and he's going to keep that going. You
Yeah,
saw how they suffered at the hands of
absolutely.
Cam, so Josh Allen's just going to do even more than Cam did.
Yep.
Tom,
Oh, yeah, 100%. I was nodding along with you. Sorry, yeah, Josh Allen.
use words for our podcast listeners.
Sorry, nodding.
Vikings at Colts. I think the Vikings will take this one. I think it'll be a reasonably close game again. I wouldn't be surprised if it was within a score and it kind of went down to fourth quarter. I also wouldn't be surprised if Philip Rivers threw away a lead in the fourth quarter. Vikings for me.
Yeah, Vikings for me. They did well
Vikings
against
for me
Green
as
Bay.
well.
Yeah, I'll take Vikings.
Oh, we're all in agreement this week. Let's go. Detroit Lions at Green Bay Packers.
long.
Easy Green Bay Packers. This is somewhat of a derby, isn't it, really, for English
Yeah, it's
listeners?
NFC North.
Yeah, but Detroit and Green Bay are very not far from each other either. Yeah, Packers. It's got to be Packers, right?
97% of people say Packers, so I'm going to also be one of them.
I'm going to go against the curve again and go Lions. I'm calling
a
that
Lions
a
fan by
shock
any chance?
victory of Stafford with Golladay connecting for 12 touchdowns.
Let's hope. Let's hope, man. Let's hope.
Yeah, no, it's going to be Packers.
You're
Falcons at Cowboys. Another good question, this one. I think that I like the Cowboys just ever so slightly more.
So what have we got for Vegas?
Yeah, I've gone Cowboys.
I've gone Falcons.
Chiefy.
So Cowboys are predicted to win by 5, but it's got an implied point total of 52 points. That is
Yeah.
almost the highest scoring game, just beaten out by the Ravens and Texans.
It'll be mental.
Going to be a shootout. I'm going to go Falcons.
Okay, I can see how that would fall either way. I think that'll be closer than they
Yeah,
think it is. A
that
spread
is
of
a close
5
one.
is pretty harsh on the Falcons in that one, I think. Giants at Bears. Off.
I'm
I mean,
going
this is like
Giants.
saying, would you rather be stabbed or burnt, isn't it?
I think you're going to get the first three. Trubisky, who was there for the first 3 quarters, that's the Trubisky we're going to get for this game. I think not fourth quarter 3 touchdown Trubisky.
No.
So I'm going to go. Daniel Jones has a resurgence and takes the Giants to victory.
I would agree with Giants.
Yeah,
really?
I'm a Giants.
Yeah.
I'm Giants here.
I'm bucking it. I've gone Chicago. It's in Chicago. Yeah.
What does that matter? There's no one there. It'll be Giants. I think Giants will take it. Washington football team name TBD's Naughty Naughty Boys at the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to take this.
Cardinals.
There's no way that the football team can shut
Yeah,
them.
I'm sorry. Like, it's got to be Cardinals.
Can we all agree on the next one? It's going to go Cardinals, and then Chiefs versus Chargers is going to be Chiefs, and then Ravens versus Texans is going to be Ravens.
No.
Anyone indiscriminate?
Oh, I think the Texans might have something to say about the Ravens.
Do you think?
All right, so we're going to agree Cardinals, Chiefs. Okay, moving on to Ravens versus Texans. Bear, you think Texans? Texans
I think
are
it's
going to
going
be
to
able
be
to...
way closer than a lot of people think.
No.
No.
Right, he's
So
on his own there. He's on his own.
Yeah, he's on his
Vegas has got Ravens winning by 6.5 points with an implied point total of 52.5. So high scoring game with Ravens taking it in the end.
All right, fine. Actually, I kind of think Ravens as well, but I felt like, Chiefs and Cardinals are easy wins. I think the Texans are going to put up way more of a fight than we think they are. Right, 3 games to go because we've got to do a Thursday night game. Patriots at Seahawks. Seahawks.
Seahawks. It's
Chris
Patriots.
Carson
Seahawks.
looks too good. I
Seahawks.
think Chris Carson's just going to smother him. And also,
Russell Wilson played
looked
amazing
great.
on
He looked
Sunday.
great. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to let Cam get up to the same antics that the Dolphins let him get up to. Everyone agree, Seahawks?
Seahawks.
I do agree. However, I'm worried about Chris Carson. He only had 6 rushing attempts in week 1,
Really?
which is insane. Yeah.
I feel like every time I flipped over, it was a big gain by Chris Carson on the ground.
He was so TT dependent.
Okay.
Yeah, he got 2 touchdowns, but he had 6 rushing attempts for 21 yards. So if he hadn't have gotten those touchdowns, it would have been a very, very sad day. But
Yeah,
again,
but he
it's week
also
1.
received 6 receptions for 45 yards.
Right,
Yeah.
Saints at Raiders. I think the Saints will win just because the Raiders' defense isn't good enough to stop them.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Raiders.
Yeah, they've got enough
That's
weapons
bold.
to fight back. But I think
You're
Marshall
one of
Lattimore will have a day.
10% of people there, Moose.
And then
better
finally,
than
we
3.
will finish with the game that the week will start with: Bengals versus Browns. It's
Would you rather have Adam Gase or OBJ?
Bengals.
Ooh.
I think Joe Burrow.
No,
looked
I'm
good.
Bengals.
Joe
I
Burrow
think Joe Burrow
didn't
looked
look
good, yeah.
out of his depth. He looked like he
Yeah.
still needed to get up to speed a little bit more. But we've just talked about how the Browns aren't looking great this year. I know you're going to have Myles Garrett running down his throat, but I think that Burrow can outlast it. I think he's going to be a good player, and I'm looking forward to watching him again this week.
Yeah.
Moose.
This is a game that I'm not interested in. In all honesty, I'm gonna go with the Browns just because they've got a lot of good players. They're just not putting them together very well at the moment. It's like a shit set of Lego.
It's like the fake Lego you can buy on eBay that only half the pieces fit together.
But yeah, I'm Browns.
And after the shade the zebra threw at him, I think Baker bounces back. I think he's going to be spurred on after hearing this podcast. Baker, don't
He's a
listen
big
to the
listener.
zebra. Yeah. You know
And
what,
if
you
you
can do it.
come on, have a chat. Come talk to us.
Start fighting in the car
I
park.
don't think he'll talk to you, Matt. I don't think he likes you very much anymore.
We should start a Matt Lowson hit list. All of the people who throw shade at.
The
What,
zebras hit
what I want
list.
to know is whether or not my hit list comes true for the whole season.
What, like
I hope
all
it
these
happens.
players that you're shitting on right now, you want to know if you were right about it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Well, try not
Yeah.
to make it too long of a list because we'll start forgetting. But at the minute you've got Big Ben, Baker, and who was the third? You wanted to start a fight with today?
You picked someone, didn't you? It was someone else you picked on as well. You were just mean to everyone.
Yeah,
I just-
John,
God, it was
it's
mean.
DeAndre Swift.
Oh yeah,
Jim
Daniel.
Swift.
yeah.
I wasn't mean to him.
No, you
I
weren't.
actually said it was unfortunate. It was like a Cinderella story in the waiting, and suddenly it was unfortunate.
No,
I feel
you
for
called him out and he dropped it. He dropped the NFL pass and with it the hopes and dreams of an entire franchise. Something along those lines. I can't remember.
You said you could have caught it, and a blind person could have caught it.
You see, he's
not
taking
even
on the
have
visually
hands, DeAndre.
impaired.
I'm pretty
He's
sure
fat
the exact
shamed.
words that came out of your
This
mouth.
is. You're not woke
God,
enough,
look,
Matt.
all
You're
I'm
not
going to
woke
say
enough.
is that because of that pass, the Bears have finally won a opening game in the NFL since 2013.
2013. Wow. they
2013 was the last time they won an opening game. That could have been prevented by DeAndre Swift. But with that, we'll call it a day. If you enjoyed today's show, guys, be a friend and tell a friend.
If you're listening to the podcast, then go ahead and subscribe and drop us a review on whatever platform you use. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. It all helps us more than you can imagine. And best of all, it's totally free for you to do.
If you've been offended or hurt by anything Zebra has said tonight, we'll be putting in the show notes links to Body Conscious website, how to catch an NFL football, and how not to have someone defecate on your chest, Baker Mayfield. And on top of this, please leave a comment for any questions you have or your own Super Bowl takes. If we're coming to you via a podcast service, you can always drop us an email to fancyfootballzoo@zoohousesports.com. Alternatively, if you're on the Twitter, you can find me at ZooHouseGoat.
Or me at ZooHouseZebra.
Or me at ZooHouseBear.
Or me at ZooHouse Moose, or the podcast in general on Twitter and Instagram at ZooHouseSports_. If you can't wait another week for more fantasy content, be sure to head over to ZooHouseSports.com. The site is chock full of all of the articles you need to get the advantage over your league mates this year.
And as always, a massive thank you to all of our listeners. Best of luck for week 2, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye!